I love trash talk. I love the absurdity of this sport. It is why I'm here, right? It is at the genesis of everything. Is everything about college football is stupid and sideways. But if you throw trash talk into the mix, you have me. You have my sword. And there was no reason for James Houston to throw Oklahoma under the bus. There was none. Nobody cared about this game. Nobody was fired up about this game. It didn't really have any implications. And now all of a sudden, you're going into this game without your best player. Probably without Kadarius Toney, but we'll see. And you gave an Oklahoma team that felt like, you know what? It's cool. This is gravy. Something to actually play for. And if I'm Lincoln Riley, all I do is put this clip on repeat for like 10 minutes straight. And I have that quote everywhere they go. Because I had nothing to jazz them up with, and now I have everything. It's almost like Dabo continuing to double down on Ohio State does not belong in the playoff. Which is another thing I want to talk about with you. But first,
it'll be really nice to see Oklahoma respond to some trash talk.
Oh, man.
I feel like last week was the first time in a long time I've seen an Oklahoma team respond to some media-related snub or, it wasn't really trash talk. It was just the all Big 12 team snub of last week. I felt like our team, I don't know that we would have played. I don't know if the game comes out any different, but the players sure acted like they were inspired by it. And that was good to hear. It seems like my brother Ron and I talk about this a lot because we followed PU football a long time. It seems like whenever our players say something, take Larry Burdine's comments before the USC game in the Orange Bowl 15, 16 years ago.
Sure.
Other teams come in with some intangible type motivation like that, whether it's trash talk or something, some kind of disrespect. I feel like we lose that game every time. That other team has more to play for. We lose every time. And then when it flips and we have that, we don't respond. It seems like last year the LSU guys just trashed us all in the papers. Of course, there wasn't much we're going to do about that anyway, but we certainly didn't. And this year, it'd be great. It'd be great if we come out and knock Houston, knock him back into the secondary on the first play and roll up 45 on these guys and then say, what about us now? I mean, that's what I want to see. I want to see us respond to trash talk. And that's one of the number one things I'm looking for in this game is, you're right, they've given us some reason to care now. Will we?
It remains to be seen. I hope so. But, one of the things that doesn't necessarily seem to make a dent, at least in this team, Baker would tell the team how to act, right? Baker would tell them, with the way he spoke with media, how to act. I hate Texas, right? Can't do it. Or, the Baylor game, where he did not have to say anything at all, and at midfield, you forgot who daddy is, it's time for me to spank you. That dude let you understand what it was. That dude does not exist at Oklahoma right now, right? It was the Boz, I think, in the 80s, whatnot, it looks like puke, orange and whatnot. And every now and again, you have that guy. I keep waiting on that guy to show up at OU, and I don't know who it's going to be. Pat Fields is an ambassador. Pat Fields is a statesman. He is a diplomat. He's not the guy that's going to yell and scream and kick and let everybody know that they disrespected us. We have to yell about it. We have to go bare our chest. I would love to know that guy was Creed Humphrey, but it hasn't turned out to be. Even Kenneth Murray last year was somewhat that guy. I would like to see that person make himself known in this Cotton Bowl, whether it be in front of the media or on a football field. Because when's the last time we saw a linebacker go crazy for something like 15, 16 tackles? Is it like Dom Alexander? Is it Corey Nelson? Is it that long ago?
Yeah, it's been missing. Obviously we've had Baker, we've had Orlando Brown.
Ooh,
kind of
Perkins
out there.
Perkins. I'm getting that in the chat. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I was gonna get to him. I was gonna say the guy who's been that this year has been Buki, and that the fans have not accepted that.
That's true.
But Perkins and a little bit of Winfrey have brought some attitude from the defensive line, and that's where you want to see it. You don't see it come from your offensive line or your defensive line. Because if someone's going to talk smack, it might as well be 340.
Hey, no, like, for real. Like, if Phil Loadhole had something to say, who was going to check him? Who is going to check him? If Jamarcus McFarland had something to say, who was going to check him? Wasn't nobody stepping to Gerald McCoy. It's not what you do because you want to live. You like a long life. You'd like to reach that part where you get to reap the benefits of your 401k. You don't do that by talking noise to the dude that's 6'8", 340.
Yeah, and Orlando Brown used to get the penalty of the game. I mean, first quarter,
right.
He'd knock somebody over after the plays, knock us out of – we'd have to punt. We'd cost us 7 points right off the bat, but we'd just maul people after that. So we kind of let him get away with it because it cost us 7 to get 35. And we'd let him do it, you know.
No, that's a good point.
You got to see that. I mean, you got to there's something to be said about that unnecessary roughness call a guy gets in the first quarter. Sometimes you got to come out and establish who's going to be knocking heads out there, and we do kind of need that. We need that guy, and if it's Ronnie Perkins, I think that's good. That's who you want it to be.
I'm glad you brought up the personal fouls that Zeus used to get because it was a way of keeping track with the game. Apparently, it would always piss Bill Bedenbaugh off, but I'm going. Nah, that's when we know that they're locked in. They're clicked because Orlando decided that it was time for him to go just ragdoll somebody after the play. And you could just set your watch by it. Like, it was so much fun because, okay, personal foul, 15 yards, move it back. That's all right.
Yeah, he did that at Baylor that year when Baylor probably could have beaten us. They had a really good team, and we went and threw him down the first. Nixon kind of helped him, threw that guy down, and I thought, man, what an idiot, man. We had to punt, cost us points. It's a tough game. Dude, Orlando just ate those guys for breakfast the rest of the night. It was over.
So
I think that might have been the same game. What was our lineman?
Oh,
that guy's
dude.
name? Defense, Matt Diamond.
Oh yeah, because Matt flipped off the crowd.
He got ran like kicking. Well, he like kicked the holder on the extra point or something like that. It was on an extra point. He just kicked somebody.
Right.
Got kicked out of the game.
And that was the last time we ever heard from Matt Diamond because he was coming on. Like, I think he's coming out of Katy at the time, too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
He's a good player.
Lee. Yeah. Matt Diamond. Just, right? Because everybody's like, yo, Hainsworth, chill out. Chill out.
That stuff's funny when you win. If you win the game, it's comedy. You lose, you transfer portal.
How do you think this game is viewed from the vantage point of an SEC, let's say fan? Yeah, let's say an SEC fan.
So that's an interesting question. To think like an SEC fan, I mean, you've got to go get out your extension ladder, and get on the highest horse you can. Like, you got to imagine yourself with the most ridiculous superiority complex. The way I do it is I think, like, what if we were playing Cincinnati? How would we be viewing this game? You know, we're a superior program. We're in a superior conference. We have better players. We have a lot more stars across the board. You know, they're good enough. If we don't play well and we don't take this game serious, they could probably beat us. But if they beat us, it's our fault. It's not because they're any good. And I think that's how most upper echelon SEC schools approach. Even a game against a blue blood like Oklahoma, I still think they approach it like that because they think now the delusional SEC fan thinks about 12 of their teams could win any conference. But I think most SEC fans think 3 or 4 of their teams could win any conference, with possible exception of the ACC. You know, they're like, well, some of our teams might finish second in the ACC. That's how they feel, and they believe it, and they're not totally incorrect on that. I mean, obviously, they do have 3 or 4 teams that probably could win several Power 5 conferences. But I think they think that transitive property just because Alabama's so good, LSU was good last year, that just automatically makes them better. And just because you get ran by Alabama like Texas A&M did, what is that? You still have to go do it. You still have to beat us. I think Auburn felt that way a few years ago in the whatever bowl, Sugar Bowl, I think that was. and they got ran. And I mean, they had some great players. I mean, they posed some challenges that Big 12 teams don't pose because we're not built like that. But we still blew them out. I mean, it wasn't a contest. And I'm not saying that this is how the Florida game is going to go. I'm not saying we're vastly superior to Florida or anything like that. But I think that's how they approach this game, is that ultimately, at the end of the day, we're one of those 5 SEC teams that's better than pretty much everyone in the country except maybe Clemson and maybe Ohio State. But that's how they feel.
So
and if they lose, it's because they weren't interested. I mean, we're kind of in a no-win situation here in terms of
right, and that's
impressing them.
That's what I thought too. I thought the way that this goes doesn't benefit Oklahoma at all. Like, let's say Oklahoma beats Florida, Cincinnati beats Georgia. Okay, no SEC team wanted to be there in the first place, right? Because then I'm assuming that UNC beats Texas A&M. If they go 3-0 in those games, see, we're that much better. And and I just and then there's this whole I'm the guy stumping for the group of 5 teams because I would really love to see what the polls do if Cincinnati beats Georgia and is undefeated to end the season, and what the polls do if Coastal Carolina beats Liberty and is undefeated to end the season.